But it's see, anger can happen when something goes wrong. But furious is when something is unacceptably unacceptably wrong. So, like when Lord Ram is, so that example of Suri, when Lord Ram was in agony, was in grief in separation from Sita, and at that time, when Lakshman went into the kingdom and saw Sugriva enjoying, watching dancing girls in luxury, that's when Lakshman became furious. That something is utterly unacceptably wrong. That's when we become furious. So on hearing Kaikeyi's demand that Ram be exiled, Dashrath was first shocked. When she refused to compromise at all, he started becoming angry. So when the monkeys saw, say the giant Kumbhakarna, just casually stepping over the wall of Lanka and coming out to attack them, seeing the sheer size of that demon, they became fearful. Okay, careful.
Hanumanji was very careful when approaching Mother Sita and Akrapat. Hanuman was very careful. Come to a conclusion that
Was he careful? Actually, he mistook initially, but then he had second thoughts. Second thoughts. So you could say Hanuman was very careful when initially he was going around Lanka. He wanted to find Sita, but himself he did not want to be found by the Rakshasas. So while entering Lanka, he was careful. While leaving from Lanka, he was fearless. Yes.
also he was very careful not to.
Yeah. So he was careful that Sita should not suspect that he is also a demon in disguise, or something like that. Yeah.
Aditi, at the starting when Ram became king, Kaikeyi was actually happy, cheerful at the starting.
That's a good point. Yes. Nice. So on first hearing the news of Ram being going to be coronated, Ram's proposed coronation, Kaikeyi was actually happy, even cheerful too. So okay. So we'll thank you. Let's get into a little bit mood of Lord Ram's remembrance now. So broadly, the topic we are discussing today is how misunderstandings occur and how we can try to prevent them. So talking about the relationship between four brothers. So today and tomorrow, I'll be talking about the dynamics between Ram, Lakshman, and Bharat, Shatrugna, four of them. So mostly it's between Ram, Lakshman, and Bharat primarily. So broadly, I'll talk of four main incidents when this happens, and we'll see how much today. Probably take two of them or one of them, depending on how it goes. So now the four brothers, they are always very united. Ram and Lakshman are very close to each other. Bharat and Shatrugna are close to each other. Either way, they are very close to each other, and all of them are four also united. But life is such that even among people who are very close to each other, there can be terrible problems that come up. You want me to do something with this?
That quiet is behind your actually yeah, it's good.
Okay. Recently I had done a sleep test. So they had put many probes on my body. I feel this is like so many probes are like so that was around the head, this is around the heart. So now life is such that even among the best of people, sometimes misunderstandings can happen. And sometimes how it happens is that, say, if two people are here, and misunderstanding can happen because, say, one person speaks something or does something. So there are words or actions that can be misunderstood. And similarly, from the other side, there are words or actions, so which can create a misunderstanding. So that is so we could put misunderstanding as some kind of barrier that is created between the two of them. So ideally speaking, we want bridges between people. So the words that we speak, they can build bridges, but they can also build barriers. Now sometimes misunderstandings come not because any character has done anything, the person has done anything. Literally, the two people are here, but suddenly a quake occurs in the between them, and the earth breaks apart. So if two people are on a mountain, and suddenly a quake happens, and there's a valley that falls between the two of them. So then what happens? These two people were very close to each other, but now suddenly, if a valley has formed, then this person is on one mountain, this person is on another mountain, and then there is a huge distance between the two of them. This is also possible. So at such times, when largely circumstances arise that can very easily cause misunderstandings. So how do we do that? So that's what we'll discuss. I said 4 incidents we'll discuss. So there is a difference of opinion between Ram and Lakshman. Then there is a difference or a tension between Lakshman and Bharat. Then there is a discussion, which is not a confrontation, but still it is a heated discussion between Ram and Bharat. And then later on, there could have been a potential tension between Ram and Lakshman. So this is all around the time of the exile. This is around the time of the abduction. And then finally, there is at the time of the return, there is a small test between Ram and Bharat. So we'll try to look at these 3 incidents now. So when the news of the exile of Ram starts spreading in Ayodhya, so the mood is of celebration and jubilation because everybody loves Ram. He's such a virtuous and glorious prince. He's a person who has whom the sage Vishwamitra called to assist him in sacrifices, and he was successful in killing demons. So everybody is happy. And at that time, there is this news of some conspiracy starts going around, that he is being exiled. So now, Dashrath Maharaj is told by Kaikeyi, this is her demand. And then finally, Dashrath Maharaj, he faints, he gets up, he just can't believe it, he can't process it. Then Sumantra goes to meet him, and seeing his master so disheveled, so distressed, what is the matter? So Kaikeyi says that the king wants to see Ram. So the arrangement is made to ask Ram to come. And when Ram comes there, at that time, Dashrath actually cannot speak also. So it is Kaikeyi who speaks on his behalf. And now here, we will see that even good people, the same situation that comes up, they may have different ways of dealing with. When some problem comes up, two people may be good, but still they may have two different strategies, two different approaches to deal with the situation. So I'll look at some parallels from the Mahabharata also of how this can happen. So when Lord Ram hears the news, it is a shocking news, but he tries to contain his emotion as much as possible. And his focus is on trying to make sure that things don't become worse. So when Kaikeyi makes a dreadful demand, he says, "Oh Kaikeyi, I always respected you like a mother. And I thought that you also treated me like your son. Today it gives me great sadness to know that you did not accept me as your son." Now Kaikeyi is bracing for an attack. At that time, Lord Ram says, "If you had accepted me as your son, and for such a trivial thing as a kingdom, you needn't have even troubled our father. You could just come to me and ask me, and I would have happily given the kingdom." So Kaikeyi's heart is a little softening, but not enough. So sometimes, see, love, we will talk about Kaikeyi's misdirected love for Bharat later on when the interaction between her and Bharat comes up. But at this point, her heart has become completely cold towards anything else except what she thinks is the right thing. So then Lord Ram is about to leave. Then he meets Lakshman. And Lakshman hears this. And on hearing this, he's enraged. And he says, "This is outrageous." He says, "How dare the king sentence you to an exile like this?" Maybe you can keep this behind only so that each time. So now exile is a very severe punishment. It is just one level below execution. Execution is that a person is killed, everything is taken away. Exile is everything except your life is taken away from you. Now in some ways it may be worse because you are left with, like, death may be better than losing everything. Now in today's world there is no exile because there is no forest to exile people to. And the nearest we may get to that is deportation. But when say somebody from some Indian in some foreign country is deported, or some foreign national in India is deported. But even when they are deported, actually you're going back to your home country. So in that sense, it's nothing really like that. So exile means you just go into a forest. And it's meant for the worst of criminals. And Lord Rama has not done any crime at all. So Lakshman's focus is on, this is utterly unfair and unacceptable. This is unjust. You see, when some action happens, that there are two things. How do I make sense of this action? When some situation happens in life, not a situation happened, but somebody has done some action which has created a terrible situation in our life. There are two things. How do I make sense of this? And how do I respond to it? So now the situation is, if we consider, the situation is that Ram is being exiled. So Ram and Lakshman approach it from completely opposite perspectives almost. So Lakshman focuses on how this is unfair. And in focusing on that unfair part, his focus is on how could the king do it. According to later commentaries of the Ramayana, that Lakshman is so angry, he doesn't even use the word our father. How could the king do something like this? And he says that the king is blinded by lust for his youngest wife. And because of that, he has made such an outrageous decision. And such a king who has lost his sense of intelligence, who has become infatuated, is not worth obeying. So you should rebel against such a king and you will get the kingdom and I will support you. So now at that time Lord Ram says, Lakshman, I was there with our father and I could see how much afflicted he was. There was not the slightest trace of infatuation over there. It was only obligation. So that he had given his word to Kaikeyi to fulfill 2 of her boons. And this is what she asked. So Lakshman says, why have we never heard of these kind of boons? How is it that they are coming conveniently just when you are supposed to get the kingdom? So Ram says, are you saying that both Kaikeyi and our father are lying about the such boons? So now whatever you may say that, that reason is not acceptable. Lakshman not, when you are angry, we need some target for the anger. So his anger shifts to Kaikeyi. He says, you always treated Kaikeyi like your mother. How could she have done this to you? So Lord Ram replies, don't speak ill about Kaikeyi. Her love for me was pure and unceasing, like the flow of the Ganga. Lakshman is not yet done. He says, that is what I can't understand. How did the Ganga dry up in one night? So then Lakshman says, Ram says that's why when I heard such words from her, I understood that this is the will of destiny. Lakshman just finds this even more unacceptable. He says, it is only cowards accept injustice as destiny. Heroes fight against injustice. You should fight against this injustice. So Lord Ram says that my concern is for my duty. He says, as a duty to my father, I was ready to accept the throne. And as a duty to my father, I will go to the forest. So here, what is happening? Lord Ram, he is using the argument of destiny. And the Lakshman doesn't accept it. But then, what does Lord Ram say? I am concerned about my duty. So, in one sense, while the situation is what it is, Lakshman is seeing the situation in terms of the human causes. That who caused this? It was Dasharatha's action, it was Kaikeyi's action, and then it's unacceptable. So he sees the human causes and he says, fight against those human causes. This is unfair. Now Lord Ram, so this is Lakshman's vision is focused on these human causes. So let's put it this way. Let's see, when any event happens, as I said, different people make sense of the event in different ways. And based on how we make sense of the event, then we decide what we are going to do about it. So now what Lord Ram does is, Lord Ram is seeing it in terms of some higher plan. He is seeing it in terms of destiny and duty. So he is seeing it more in terms of not human causes, but he is seeing it more in terms of principles. Now who is right in this case? So now eventually Lakshman agrees with Ram. And he's not happy about it, but when Ram goes to the forest, Lakshman also goes with him. So basically we could say here, in this difference of opinion, Lord Ram's will prevails. Now does Lakshman accept the argument? Well, yes, you could say. But does this mean that anything bad happens to us, it is to be accepted as destiny? Now, if we consider another event, so here basically what is happening when an event happens, we try to make sense of why this event happened, and based on that, we choose. So we can look at events in terms of the people who caused the event, and we can look at it in terms of principles. So, for example, if some okay, let me give an example for this, the parallel example, and then I'll come back to this. So we could say, are we focused on the principles? So now, which is a right vision? It depends. The same thing, if you consider later on, we consider the event. Sita is abducted. So at that time, does Lord Ram say, oh, this is the will of destiny, let me accept it? He doesn't, isn't it? Now, is destiny involved over there? Yes, to some extent destiny is involved. But there they focus on the human causes. Human means they could say Rakshasas are not humans or humans, whichever you want to put it. And then the narrow sense of the word humans, they are not humans. But in the 4 million species that we talk about humans, so even Devatas are included in that, Rakshasas are also included in that only. Because they have the capacity for spirituality. So now you can look at, say, some personal causes. So there he focuses that neither brings a destiny into the picture. Neither Ram nor Lakshman. So both agree that Sita has been abducted and we have to get her back. So when do we focus on the human causes and when do we focus on the principles? So when there are differences of opinion between two people, how do we resolve the differences? It depends on what cause is prioritized. Interestingly, before this, since this incident is happening, now after Sita is abducted, they are all searching, Ram and Lakshmana are searching for Sita. And at that time, when they are not able to find any traces of Sita, so Jatayu's dead, nearly dying body, his wounded body is not exactly next to the hermitage of the Ram and Lakshmana. What has happened is, initially Jatayu flew with Ravan and he tried to chastise Ravan, tried to give him some chastisement, to challenge him. Why are you like a coward taking another man's wife away? If you're a hero, at least fight with him, fight with Ram. So they're flying along, and when he says those words have no influence, then they fight. And then eventually gets wounded and his body is there. So it's far away from there. It's not immediately nearby. So when Lord Ram is searching for Sita, Lakshmana is with him and he can't find anywhere. So at that time, Lord Ram gets angry. And he's asking the trees, he's asking the animals, he's asking, where is Sita? And when he can't find it, he gets angry. And his anger goes towards the gods. He says, oh gods, tell me where is Sita? If not, I will use such celestial weapons, I'll destroy the whole universe. And he takes out celestial weapons. He takes those weapons. It seems as if the whole universe starts trembling. The weapons are blazing. So at that time, Lakshman folds his hand before Ram and he says, oh brother, I'll speak to you words that I have heard from you only. So very respectful, but at the same time very purposeful over there. So he says that everybody in this world faces adversity. And in the face of adversity, if those with power start using it for random destruction, then the order of the universe will collapse. He says, let us still search for Sita. And if we cannot find Sita, then you can use these weapons. You can express your anger. He says that. So Ram hears this and then Ram calms down. So in many ways, if you consider, so recently I was giving a class, where was it? In Varanasi on Ramayana. So one devotee asked me that, one person in the audience asked that Ram remains very calm, very composed when he's exiled. But after Sita is abducted, he becomes very emotional. First he gets angry, and then he is in tears. Sometimes in some later retellings of Ramayana, he is rolling down in agony. And even when he comes into the Kishkin area, where Sugriv and Hanuman, they hear him, and then Hanuman comes to meet. At that time, Ram is lamenting, Ram is in tears, he's in agony. So why was he so emotional when Sita was abducted? But he was not that emotional when he was exiled. Both are big adversities. But the thing is that in the second case, it is he feels a greater sense of responsibility. Like in the case of he have to go to exile, it just requires more grace. It requires grit, you can say, to accept it. It requires toughness. But here, there's a sense of personal failure. That it is, she came to me, she came with me to the forest trusting me. And I failed to protect her. So one is danger coming upon us. The other is danger coming upon someone we love. So danger coming upon us or difficulty coming upon us because of no fault of ours. And difficulty coming upon someone we love possibly because of a fault of ours. The second is much more difficult to bear. So Lord Ram, in that sense, becomes more emotionally affected at this time. So now, Lord Ram, at this point, what is happening when Sita is abducted? Ram is saying that why are the higher beings, the gods, not helping? They are not helping. This whole universe is cruel. This universe is unfair. I'll destroy the universe. So at that time, Lakshman is saying that we need to make our human endeavors. Sita has just been abducted. So our human endeavors are important. Let us find Sita. And as they keep searching, can keep it down. So basically that means which framework do we use is important to understand. And is there one right framework? No, it depends on Desha Kala Patra. Time, place and circumstance. So when something bad happens, how do we respond to it? There are two, with the Jnana Indriyas, we try to understand the cause. And with the Karma Indriyas, then we try to pursue a cure. Okay, this is the cause and this is how we deal with it. And in different situations, different people, based on their nature and their investment in that particular situation, they may pursue the cause differently and they will pursue the cure differently. So let's take a couple of relatable examples to this. I have told this story many times, but I'll explain a different dimension of it. That many of you know that I need crutches for walking. So when I was 1, my mother took me to a polio clinic, to get the polio vaccine. But unfortunately in the clinic, previously the power supply had gone off. So because of that power supply having gone off, the fridge had got heated up. And then the vaccines which were there, they had got contaminated. The germs had increased in them. So neither the attendant nor the physician noticed it. So when I was given the vaccine, instead of it preventing polio, it ended up causing polio. So now after this happened, I have a maternal uncle who is settled in America. He's among the first, you could say, the first or second batch of Indians into America in the 1970s only, 1980s he went there. So when he came to know about it, his first reaction was sue the doctor, sue the hospital. Now my father is among the calmest persons I have ever seen in the world. Practically nothing makes him angry. His favorite verse in the Bhagavad Gita is the Sthita Pragya section. So my father said that India, the judicial system is such that if we try to sue, we'll spend our whole life going to courts. And that also is not going to change the physical condition. So let's focus on trying to manage it and deal with it as much as we can. So he didn't sue. Now, there's a devotee in America and Florida. He's my godbrother, disciple Radhanand Maharaj. So when his wife was pregnant, at that time there was some issues because of she was in the hospital. And during the process of delivery, the doctors, the medical staff, not the doctors, there's some negligence on their part. And in the NICU when she was there, the baby's head, there's too much pressure. while coming out or whatever. And then when the baby was born, she had a variety of problems. She had cerebral palsy and other life crippling issues. So at that time, he himself is his parents are also Prabhupada disciples, and he's an initial disciple of Radhanath Maharaj. So he wrote to Radhanath Maharaj to ask him, now that this has happened, should I accept this as my karma, or should I sue the hospital? So Maharaj wrote back and told him that, whatever has happened, you have to accept it. Now it's your responsibility to take care of your daughter. At the same time, if you can get any assistance in taking care of her, then you should seek that assistance. So then he sued the hospital, and because it was a clear case of medical negligence, so the hospital settled out of court, and then he got a generous settlement by which, as long as his daughter is alive, there will be medical support, all the medical support for her, all the costs will be borne by that hospital. So now, this does not, of course, just change the fact that her life will be limited in many ways. But the point here is that the ethos, we consider destiny as a factor, but always in our discussions, deliberation, the focus is on the duty. So what was told over there is that the duty is we have to take care of the daughter. So the Vedic wisdom is dharma centered, not daiva centered. It is duty centered, not destiny centered. So now in India, my father's reasoning, I would say that, if instead of taking care of a child who has some physical issues, he's spending all his energy going to courts, anything constructive, maybe now it might, but 30, 40, 50 years ago, it's very unlikely. So then how best can I do my duty in this particular situation? So the focus is on, now that the situation has happened, for every situation, we can look at multiple causes. So is something happened because of one's past karma? It's possible. But is everything that happens, is it because of past karma only? No, there is past karma and there is present karma also. Isn't it? So if somebody takes a dozen ice creams on a cold night and the next morning they have a terrible throat. In the previous night they were saying ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. Now next morning they're saying ice cream. They feel like screaming now. So now, is their sore throat, the terrible throat that they're having now, is it because of past karma? Yes, it's past karma, but not past life's karma, past night's karma. Isn't it? So, in general, when we look at a situation, there can be, so when say, if I am here and say suddenly some terrible situation comes in my life. So now when this terrible situation is coming in my life, it could have multiple causes. It could have my own action. That could be some cause. So I made a mistake. So if I was driving on the road, I drove on the wrong side of the road and some other vehicle hit me. So it could be I could be the cause. Now there could be a drunk driver and that person came and hit me. So there could be something partly my cause, there could be somebody else's as a cause. Now we can go backward and we can say there is something from previous life, we have our destiny, and from that destiny also something might contribute. Now exactly in a situation, which is the primary cause? That is it my karma? Is my present action? Is it somebody's present action? Is it our own past karma? So there could be multiple causes for the same event. And in one sense, we cannot know for sure what exactly is the cause. But we can focus on which cause is actionable for us. Or rather, not just actionable in the sense that I can do something about it, but acting on which cause will help make the things better. So Lord Ram's focus when he's exiled is that we don't want this to cause our family to break apart. So if Ram decides to take up weapons, then already there is some tension in the family that will escalate much more. So in general, so if we consider, let's put it this way now, the cause, what is the cause of a particular event? So broadly, we could divide it into three broad parts. So cause is, if I see the cause as past karma. Now I'm emphasizing the words very carefully here. I see the cause as past karma. There could be other causes also, but I see the primary cause I focus on is past karma. Then the solution would be tolerate it. Don't retaliate against it. Don't try to fight it back. Now, if I consider that the situation is because of some wrongdoer, that there is a person who is doing something wrong, that particular adversity has come because of a particular person, then there could be a different response to it. Let's put it this way. Remote here. So, okay. So if the situation is because of a particular wrongdoer, now that could be one particular factor. Now it could be that situation, it is just the nature of the place. Nature of the place means this is how things are, and neither can I tolerate it, but I cannot change it also. So broadly, that means what is happening is that if a problem has come into, this person is the cause of the problem, or the situation is such that this problem is going to be there in the situation only, or that it's by past karma. So basically we could, now if we see that it is because of some wrongdoer, then we can try to mitigate. Mitigate means we fight against the situation. We fight against it to fix the situation. Now, if we see it is because of the nature of the place itself, then we may decide that I want to emigrate from it. So, now, are these three distinct causes? They could be related. You could say past karma can also lead to that person coming in my life. Past karma can also lead to my being in a particular place. But the focus is that which is the cause that is actionable for me. So if we go back to the Mahabharata now, now we can look at incidents in the Ramayana also, but Mahabharata becomes much more vivid. See, initially when Bhima tried to attack, or Bhima was attacked by Duryodhan, by poison rather. So Bhima wanted to hit back at him and teach him a lesson. Yudhishthira said, let's stay quiet. Let's not escalate this matter. Let's try to be gentle. Let Bhima see that we are not a threat to him. Maybe he will cool down. So he chose to tolerate. But then, when they were attempted to be burnt in Varnavath, the Pandavas decided that this is a much bigger conspiracy. Rather than going back to directly confront the Kauravas, they said, let's immigrate now. So they went away, they were hiding till they met. Then went to Draupadi's Swayamvar and they won the hand of Draupadi. And then they came back. Then eventually, when Draupadi was dishonored, and then after that Krishna was dishonored in the same assembly, Duryodhana and his supporters showed no sign of changing. And the Pandavas decided, enough is enough. Then they decided to mitigate. So broadly speaking, there are these three approaches. Now we could use this acronym when we have deeply met the situation in our mind. That means we have contemplated the situation, then we decide which approach do we want to take. So it is not that one approach is dharma and other approaches are adharma. It is not that only one of these approaches is right and all others are wrong. No, it depends on what we see is actionable for us, and accordingly we act. So let's try to understand this a little bit more. I'll make 2 more points and then we can have question answers. That when do we tolerate, when do we mitigate, and when do we immigrate? So broadly, if I consider these 2 examples, when I had the polio, my father said, okay, let's tolerate it. Now, when there was this devotee's daughter who got cerebral palsy, then he said that let's mitigate it. We can't remove the disease itself, but at least the negative effects of it can be countered. So, what determines that what should I be doing or in which situation? So, deciding this itself is dharma. So, just before the Kurukshetra war, there are multiple rounds of peace negotiations. And the final round is when Krishna himself goes as the peace messenger. In the first round, Drupada sends his Brahmana priest to the Pandava, to the Kuru kingdom. And then in response, Dhritarashtra sends Sanjay with his message. And Sanjay's message basically is that, oh Yudhishthir, it's good to know that you're doing well, that Abhimanyu has got married to Uttara now. So that was the occasion where they all had come together. He said that ultimately life is temporary, the world is temporary. Everybody who is a grahastha has to eventually become vanaprastha. The world has to be renounced. You are so fortunate that in your youth itself you have attained vanaprastha. Now, why do you want to turn back to this temporary material life and become a grahastha? And why do you want to fight a war for that? And why do you want to fight a war against your own relatives? Just stay where you are peacefully and let the status continue. So, now what is happening over here? He is trying to put the blame on Yudhishthira. Why are you fighting a war? Why are you so attached? So at that time, Yudhishthira replies and says that, "O king, I never mentioned anything about a war at all. All that my message was, in your presence, a gambling match happened, and in your presence, the terms were decided. So we have honored our part of the agreement. Now, my request is that you honor your part of the agreement. So if you do not honor your part of the agreement, then we have our Kshatriya duty to do. We need a kingdom for that." And he said, as far as taking vanaprastha is concerned, there's a time and place for everything. He says, we still have our duty to our citizens, we have duty to our ancestors, and we have many years in front of us in our life, and we need a kingdom for that. So at that time, Yudhishthira is being told, just stay in the forest only. And like tolerate this. Yudhishthira's focus is on that we have a duty, we have a dharma. So the whole Mahabharata is a discussion about what to do. Like different characters have different conceptions of what is dharma. There are some characters who don't care for dharma at all. That is also there. I just want to do what I want to do. But different characters may decide that this is the right thing to do at a particular time. So now do we tolerate a situation? Do we emigrate from a situation, or do we mitigate a situation? So I'll go towards the Bhagavad Gita to answer this question, then we will conclude. So there's a famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita which talks about tolerance. 2.14. 40. Matra sparshaastu kaunteya hitoshna sukha dukkadaha agam apaino nityas am stitikshasu bharata. Excellent. So, it's wonderful that you have memorized this verse for tolerance. Excellent. Is this the verse you tell your parents, tolerate me now? So, now, it's a very important verse. At the same time, tolerance, immediately raises the question, what? What do we tolerate? Is Krishna telling the Pandavas, Krishna telling Arjuna, tolerate the Kauravas' atrocities, no need to fight a war. Just live peacefully. What they did, just see it all as your past karma and tolerate it. Is that what he's saying, tolerate? No. The tolerance is what? Tolerate that you have to fight Bhishma and Drona. It's very painful for you to fight against them, but you need to tolerate that pain. So when we talk about tolerance, what to tolerate is very important to recognize. And how do we know that? For that, we go to the previous verse. What is the previous verse? Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhiras tatra namuhyati. Excellent. So he's telling that actually the body is temporary, the soul is eternal. And why is he telling this in this context? There are that from 25 to 30, that those verses, that 4 times Krishna talks about na shochati, that there's no need to lament. The point he's talking about is Bhishma and Drona are not their physical selves. They are spiritual beings, they're souls. And when the soul gives up a body, it gets a new body. It says we give up old clothes and we get new clothes. So his point is that here Krishna is giving him intelligence. Now intelligence, what does it mean? It can mean many things, but one way is to understand what are the big things in our life and what are the small things in our life. I think let's keep it here. So what are the big things and what are the small things? So Krishna is telling Arjuna over here, the small thing is that actually you have to fight and attack their bodies. The big thing is that they are souls and they can get elevated, they can get liberated. Later on he'll explain the big thing is that you have to establish dharma. And for that, the small thing is you have to fight against your relatives. In this context, what is the big thing and what is the small thing? That is important to understand. Now, the next verse after 2.14 is 2.15, which tells us what should be the fruit of tolerance. Is tolerance like a lifelong sentence, keep tolerating? But what is the result of tolerance? That is transcendence. What happens by tolerance? Let's recite this verse. Yam hi na vyathayante te purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukham dhiram somrutatvaya kalpate. So Krishna is telling over here, yam hi na vyathayante te, one who doesn't get disturbed by what? Sukham, samadukha sukham dhiram, one who stays sober. Now this word dhiram has just come 2 verses earlier in dhiras tatra namuhyati. So clearly he's referring to the same stream of thought and making the same point over, or referring to the same person. That person who is dhira over here, what will happen to that dhira? That person, if he stays equal amidst happiness and distress, so amrutatvaya kalpate. Amrutatva means immortality, eternity, transcendence. Like we have in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings a verse about tolerance. What is that? Trunadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna manina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So the point is that it should lead to kirtaniya sadahari. That means through humility and tolerance, we come to a place where we can constantly glorify Krishna. But if somebody is stopping us from doing that itself, and we tolerate that, then the purpose of tolerance is not being served. So what we tolerate, the idea is by tolerating, we come to the level of transcendence. Now what does transcendence mean? Transcendence means that the big thing that is there, that becomes the biggest thing for us. And we become completely absorbed in that. And the small things become so small as it becomes insignificant for us. That's the meaning of you transcend the situation, for example. That means the situation no longer matters. So one way to understand this tolerance is, let's say, we can go wrong in facing life's difficulties in 2 ways. One is that we make something which is small very big. And this would be what you can call as intolerance. Every conflict that is there, you make it into a big conflict, and we start. There's some inconvenience in the job. We say that I just want to leave this job. Some school difficulty in school or college. I want to go to some other college. Some difficulty in the relationship. I want to end this relationship. So we make small things big. That is one way we go wrong. That is intolerance. Now the other way we may go wrong is that we may make a big thing small. So if we make a big thing small, that will lead to impotence. Impotence is basically we become powerless, or we make ourselves powerless. So once I was giving a class in Australia, and there's one devotee over there. See, after my classes, I often ask questions to the audience. What did they like? Now, some people just say everything was nice in the class. Some people say, yeah, it was a good class. Some people give specific points. Some people give also some specific feedback. This is one of those devotees. He thoughtfully said this point was good, this point was not clear. I was not convinced about this point. So we have good discussions. So he had come for this program, and he came a little late, so he's sitting behind. And my talk happened to be on tolerance. So then, at the end of this class, I asked him, so how did you find the class? So he said, normally your classes are very intellectually stimulating, but today I got an opportunity to apply the class in the class itself. So now I started thinking, what does that mean? You have to tolerate my class? Is that what he means? So he said, no. He saw my face, he thought what I was thinking. He said, actually, when I came late, I was sitting behind, and the person sitting next to me was constantly doing something with the phone. The phone was beeping, phone was ringing, person was picking up the phone and talking on the phone. So I was very annoyed, and I was about to speak something strongly to the person, but then I thought this class is on tolerance. So he said, let me tolerate it. So I tolerated it successfully, but unfortunately because of that, I could not hear most of the class. So then I told him, Prabhu, with all due respect, whenever anybody starts a sentence with all due respect, you can know what is going to come after that. It's not going to be very respectful. So I told him, with all due respect, that is not tolerance, that is impotence. Isn't it? See, if you have come for a class, what is the big thing? Hearing the class. So now, if say we come for a class and we would like to sit on a chair, but all the chairs are occupied, and to sit on the floor. Now maybe it's a little inconvenient, but it's for 1.5 hours, maybe we can do it. So that is something I can tolerate. But suppose somebody feels so much pain, they say, I'll do the tapasya of sitting and bearing the pain. Well, so sitting on the floor and bearing the pain, if that is the tapasya you wanted to do, you could have done it at home also. Isn't it? The purpose of coming to a class is not to bear the pain of sitting on the ground. So if it's unbearable, throughout the class, if you're thinking of how much my thigh is paining, my knees are paining, then better get a chair from somewhere. Ask for a chair. Even if there's a little disruption, you'll be able to hear the class. I know some devotees who have back pain and something like that. One devotee, he comes for programs with a folding chair of his own kind. He has a folding chair and he brings that chair and it has a particular curvature for the back and he sits on the chair. Sometimes you have to do that. So the point is, tolerance is not an end in itself. Tolerance is the means to an end. So when we have tolerance, what happens? Through tolerance, we are able to keep small things smaller, so that we can keep big things big. Now in some ways, while these two are distinct things, but both are related. The more we keep small things small, the more we can keep big things big. Conversely, the more we keep big things big, the more we can keep small things small. So that's why tolerance cannot be divorced from intelligence. So without having an intelligence to understand what is a big thing and what is a small thing. So for Lord Ram, the big thing when he was exiled is, I want to keep the family harmony as much as possible. That's why he did not badmouth Sita, he did not let Lakshman badmouth Sita. He told the citizens also when he was departing that, see that this is a time of great difficulty for the king. That's what he told Kaushalya also. That this is the time when your husband needs you the most. That the queen who was dearest to him, she has made a demand from him that has broken him now. The time he will need your support the most. So rather than letting her see Dashrath as a victimizer and herself and Ram as a victim, that he is in need right now. So what happened? At that time, the primary focus was on, the big thing was, okay, how to keep the family together. And then therefore, the fact that he had to be exiled, that became the small thing. And because it became the small thing, let's tolerate it. So when I talk about here, tolerate and emigrate. So Lord Ram went to the forest. We can say that's emigrating, going out of the situation. But the focus was on, okay, I don't want to fight this situation. But in the case when Sita was abducted, the big thing is, Sita has been abducted. That is my duty to protect her. And therefore, there's no question of tolerating. The focus was on mitigating. So that's why when some difficulty comes in our life, unless we are clear what is the big thing in my life, if we are not clear what is the big thing, then every small thing will become a big thing. Isn't it? What is that saying? Those who don't have anything to fight for will fight for anything. It's not that they won't fight. Those who don't have something really important, this is what my life is about. This is what is worth fighting for. Those who don't have anything to fight for, they will fight for anything. There's nothing big in their life, then every small thing becomes big at them. So the focus, that's why, is on dharma. So for Lord Ram, dharma was important, and in the case of the first case, dharma was protecting the family unity. The second case, it was protecting or regaining Sita. So when we have this understanding of what is a big thing in my life, now sometimes we may not have that clarity beforehand. So when a difficult situation comes in our life, that's the time we decide, okay, what really matters for me? Because see, when there are 10 things in our life and all 10 things are reasonably right, then okay, what is the big thing for me? We decide that. But we may not be really even required to decide that. Okay, all 8 things, 10 things are going well in my life. But then, when we are put in a situation where some of those things are going wrong, and to fix those things, we have to do all other things. Then other things may also go wrong. So then we have to decide what is important. Say, we have a job and suddenly we lose the job. Or say, our child is in the school and now the school is over and college is starting. Are they going from junior college to senior college, from primary to secondary or whatever? Then they have to go to a different school. Then what is important for me? Okay, if the child is going to that school is far away. Should we relocate there? If we relocate there, then okay, should I change my job? Should I do this? Should I do that? There are many decisions to be made in life. So when two people have differences of opinion, it is not because one person is a good person, another person is a bad person. Quite often it may be because each person, for them, X may be the big thing, for the other person, Y may be the big thing. So initially what happened? For Ram, maintaining the family harmony was the big thing. And that's why he referred to, this is the will of destiny. For Lakshman, the unfairness that had befallen Ram, that was the big thing. And how can this be tolerated? This has to be fixed. So it's not that they had, not that, as I said, one was a good person, one was a bad person. But when there's a difference in judgment, that is because different people may have different understanding what is the big thing and what is the small thing. And then when two people talk with each other, then they can better understand with each other, okay, why are you, like one person says, why are you fighting so much about it? And another is, why are you not fighting about this? Isn't it? So then if they says, hey, don't be so aggressive. The other person, don't be so passive. So what is happening is, from judgment about situation, we are going to a value judgment about the person. You are aggressive and you are passive. But instead of that, if we try to communicate with each other. Okay, when you don't want to fight about this, what is the reason? And then if you feel so strongly about it, you want to fight about this, what is the reason? So when two people can understand why something is so big for you, other person understands why this is not so big for me. Then okay, if this is your thinking, it's so important for you, okay, I support you in this. But then both may decide we'll fight this together. The person may say, okay, but if we fight for this is going to disrupt this. And therefore, this is not worth fighting for. Okay, I agree with you. So that's why this is, I said, I'll go back to a circle over here. Like I said, two people are together and suddenly what happens? A valley forms in between. They have done nothing wrong, but the situation comes such that a sudden valley is formed in between. And both can fall into that valley. So at that time, what will actually bridge this valley is communication. So communication is about many things, but it is ultimately about conveying what are the big things for me and what are the small things for me. And each person conveys that. And if two people are going to be in a long-term relationship, then there has to be at least some level of agreement about what are the big things. Now, how this will work is that broadly speaking, if I am here and say the other is here, then there are some things which are big, we share, both of us agree this is big for us. Now there could be some things which are big for me, and then you extend yourself for it. And there are some things which are big for me, and then you extend yourself for it. I extend myself for you. But then there may be some things, so all these are big things for me, all these are big things for you. So now some of the big things, some of the things which are big for me, if they are not so big for the other person. Sometimes what happens is the other person has to agree that this is big for you, so that's why it is big for me also, and I'll take it seriously. But sometimes, okay, this is not big for the other person, so I'll also make it small. This is not that important. So in that way, that's how that discussion leads to a mutual understanding. And so sometimes I have to extend my conception of what is big, because this is big for you, so I'll make it big for you. And sometimes we have to, I cannot expect everything that is big for me to become big for you. So sometimes if this is not so big for you, I'll also make it small for myself. And that way, the conflict can be minimized. So when Lord Ram focuses on maintaining the family unity, Lakshman agrees to that. When Lakshman focuses on maintaining the cosmic order, that you don't use destructive weapons like this, Ram agrees to that. So in that way, through mutual communication, conflicts, potentially volatile situations can be resolved more amicably, or at least we can act in such ways that those situations don't become worse. And we play our part in making them better. So we discussed among the four brothers, today we discussed mainly about Ram and Lakshman. And we discussed mainly 3 points. We started by discussing 2 main incidents during the course of time. One is the exile, and the other was the abduction. So now within exile, we can say Ram chose to be passive. And passive is not the right word, but let's use the word passive right now. And Lakshman was aggressive. But here what has happened was, it is Ram who became a bit aggressive. And was Ram passive? I won't say use the word passive, I will use the word pacific. Pacific is basically what? One who tries to pacify. So to manage the situation. So there's almost like a role reversal over there. So Lord Ram, here it was because a wrong had been done to him and he could accept it. But when here Lord Ram felt that I have done something wrong. So it was wrong done by me, and that's why he felt greater emotion. greater guilt or anger or sense of personal responsibility. So he became more emotional. So for Lakshman, it was the same situation. See, the way Ram felt when Sita had been abducted, that somebody close to me is suffering and I can't do anything about it. So for Lakshman, it was something similar. Someone close to me, Ram is suffering. A terrible thing has happened. How can I just be passive? So now, how do we decide what to do in such situations? So we discussed in the first part that how any situation that is there, we can put it in a particular causal box or we can put another causal box. So two people, so depending on what I see is the cause of the situation, the cause is seen with the Jnanendriyas and then the cure is pursued with the Karmendriyas. Now the other person may see something else as the cause. So we discussed how Lakshman focused on the human agents in Ram's exile and Ram focused on the destiny part and then the duty part, basically the bigger factor. So when two people see things differently, they may arrive at different solutions. So now which is the right thing? We discussed that. What is the right thing? What is dharma? There are different approaches. What are three broad approaches? Yeah. Yes, tolerate, emigrate and mitigate. So now that means depending on how we analyze the cause of a particular problem, we may decide that. So okay, that means in this situation that there is something big thing which is right and a small thing is wrong. Then let me tolerate it. In this situation, the big thing is wrong, but it is so wrong that I cannot fix it. Then let me get out of here. A big thing is wrong and I can fix it. Then we will mitigate it. So it all depends on if it's what's wrong. So if the small thing that is wrong, let's tolerate it. It's big and unchangeable. Then I cannot live here, so I'll just walk away from here. It's big and changeable. Changeable, or it's my responsibility to change it. Then we mitigate. So basically, all three could be valid, and discuss how the Pandavas at one time tolerated when Bhima was poisoned, emigrated when they were attempted to be burned alive, and they mitigated when Krishna, Draupadi and eventually Krishna were also dishonored. Then finally we discussed, another point was, here we discussed 2.14, 13 and 15. So what is, tolerance is important, but before tolerance what do we need? Intelligence. Intelligence to know what is the big thing in my life and what is the small thing in my life. And then the result of tolerance should be transcendence. That we go beyond that particular issue. So we may go wrong in two ways. We make a small thing big, that is intolerance, and we make a big thing small, that is impotence. We end up not being able to do what is our dharma, what is our duty at all. So ideally, what we should be doing is keep the small thing small so that we can keep the big thing big. So in terms of action, which comes first? Does tolerance come first? No, intelligence comes first. So it's intelligence, I know this is the big thing. So those who don't have anything to fight for, they will fight for anything. Any small thing will random become big. So through the study of Shastra and through our own personal contemplation, we learn to understand what is the big thing for us, and then accordingly, we decide what approach to use for dealing with difficult situations. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Prabhuji brought the word Dharma and Bhishma Dev in the lecture. So it was
I can repeat the question.
You can tell the question.
Yes. At the end of Mahabharata, Prabhuji, when Bhishma Dev asked Krishna what was my mistake, I did everything, sacrificed all my life. And then Krishna answers him in a way that the dharma you understood itself was wrong, right? You did all the selfless things, thinking about your family, right? To please your father, but you didn't think about the loka kalyan. So that indecision was actually adharma, what you thought was dharma. But in this case of Ramachandra, it's also looks similar, right? He did for the father, for family honor, like you said. But it looks at some point like he didn't think about the praja or loka kalyana. Looks like. So how is it not adharma in this case?
Okay. So now when Bhishma made particular choices, as far as I have read in the Mahabharata, I haven't come across any specific conversation where Bhishma asks Krishna, "What did I do wrong?" That is there in some cinematic or retellings, whether it's movie or TV series. But what we have in the Bhagavatam is Krishna treats Bhishma with great respect. Now, and that's how he has him give the final instructions to Yudhishthir. And he is there. Sakshat Krishno Darshanam Agata. Krishna comes for his final moments. But as far as Bhishma's decision is concerned, what happens, dharma is very difficult to determine. And all of us, we, in trying to understand what to do, for each one of us, there are certain conceptions we settle on as important. So for example, somebody may decide that speaking truth is the most important thing. That's my honor, that's my integrity. Somebody else may say that honoring my word is the most important thing. Somebody else may say that taking care of my family is the most important thing. Somebody else may say that protecting life is the most important thing. Now, each of these has value, has validity. But what happens, it's like if I am here, there is a particular thing that gives me shelter. Now, we can talk about physical shelter, it can be our home, but it's also like making sense of life. Like a sense shelter in terms of finding how to make life meaningful. So for some people, the most important thing may be that, okay, I'm an Indian, I have to serve my country. For the country's sake, I may be able to lay down my life also. So now each of these is the framework through which we make shelter, we make sense of life. And each framework that helps us to make sense of life is good. Because without any framework, life would be unbearable. Because see, in life, distress is going to come to everyone. What makes distress bearable is if somehow we feel this distress is meaningful. That now as students may not like to study. As adults, we may not like our jobs. But now, why do we do that? Because this is the way I'm taking care of my family. So there is some problem, but there is something which gives, some worldview, which makes it meaningful for us. And then that worldview which makes it meaningful gives us also the strength to bear life's problems. But sometimes life puts us in a situation where that worldview which has sheltered us itself gets challenged. And that's the time we need to grow to a bigger worldview. So now in the case of Bhishma, for him, it is like there were two worldviews in one sense. There was the worldview of dharma and there was the worldview of bhakti. So now what happens in life? Dharma and bhakti. Bhakti is that I am devoted to the Lord, I want to serve my Lord, and the Lord is the most important thing for me. That is bhakti. Now, in general, with respect to bhakti itself, there will not be much disagreement. That nobody is going to say Krishna is not God, somebody else is God. And is not among devotees of Krishna. But then, even when we agree that Krishna is God, how to serve Krishna in this world. What is the right thing to do in a particular situation? That is dharma. Dharma is both a moral principle and an operational principle. Operational principle means what? That the world works according to particular laws. And to function in the world, there's a right way to act. So when the devotees had done a Rath Yatra in London, they made a huge Rath cart. But somehow, they did not make the chassis and the wheels proportionately big. And then while the Ratha was going along, it started collapsing. And somehow, at that time, nobody knew what the Rath Yatra was. So the devotees made it out that the collapse of the Rath was also part of the Rath Yatra. And they managed to salvage the whole thing. But the problem was, so it was a debacle. So they wrote to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, was Lord Jagannath angry with us? Did the Rath collapse because of our poor devotion? And Prabhupada wrote back, no, the Rath collapsed because of your poor engineering. So, the idea is, so there is a way of functioning in the world. So dharma is also an operational principle. What is the right thing to do in a particular situation? There's a moral dimension to it, there's an operational dimension to it. So now, if you come for a class, if you want to hear the class and say the sound system is such that if you're set very far away, you can't hear it, then the dharma would become closer, or ask that volume be raised. Now, of course, if you don't want to hear the class, then that's a different dharma could be there at that time.
He said last time that some devotees came from so far and they tolerated not hearing you.
Yeah. Yeah. So now what happens? If you can say that from this perspective, so for Bhishma, in one sense, that Krishna Bhakti was the ultimate purpose of his life. But in facing the complexity of life, he made his word, the word that I had given, that I will always protect the Kuru king, the ruler of the Kuru dynasty, that he made the supreme operating principle for him. And sometimes we may make one thing as the supreme thing, but that may be important, but it may not be the most important thing. So that's where things go wrong. Now, Dhritarashtra also talks about dharma. And what happens is that Shakuni knows that he doesn't have to persuade Duryodhana about dharma. Duryodhana doesn't bother about dharma at all. What will give me power, that's the right thing. But then Dhritarashtra needs to be persuaded. So Shakuni has his own Brahmana friend, his Kanika, and he gets his Kanika, and that person persuades that actually, ultimately, Kshatriyas cannot do any good to society if they do not have power. And therefore, holding on to power, gaining power and retaining power is the most important thing for Kshatriyas. Only after you do that, then you can do all other things. So to some extent, that's like a bit of, in the West, in Europe, there was a political philosopher called Machiavelli. It's a bit Machiavellian like that. So the thing is, there's a lot of deliberation on dharma, but there's misunderstanding about dharma because something which is not the most important thing is made the most important thing. So Bhishma's mistake was that, in that sense. Okay, thank you. Any other quick questions?
Good.
Prabhuji, you can say I have 3 questions.
Good.
Okay.
Prabhuji, I couldn't really understand what you meant by mitigate when you were talking about, like when there are problems, how to solve them and what are the causes of them. So then I couldn't really understand when it's the wrongdoer, somebody else is, then how do you mitigate? So I didn't understand what you meant.
Okay, so I'll explain both. So that when we see somebody as a wrongdoer, then we try to mitigate it. So what does mitigate mean? So mitigate means to fight against the problem, to fix the problem. So like you did not understand this class, so when you are asking this question, you are mitigating your lack of understanding. You could tolerate and say, I don't understand, it doesn't matter, I don't understand. So say now, if in class, if you're in school, and now some kids are a bit mean. Now, they might speak something, they might do something, which is a little annoying, which is not pleasant. Now we may decide that, should I tolerate it? I can tolerate it. But if somebody starts bullying us, somebody starts pestering us, somebody starts injuring us, somebody starts destroying our things and making a big mess, then we say, this is not something, it's not a small thing. Say, if somebody just not pleasant with us, not nice with us, that's one thing. But somebody starts troubling us so much that we can't study in class. We're constantly scared. What is this person going to do? Then at that time, that's not a small thing, it's become a big thing. So then we need to mitigate it. So mitigate could mean that we tell our parents, we tell the teacher, we report to someone so that it can be fixed. Now sometimes if we find that in a particular school, everybody is unpleasant, then we may decide that I don't want to be in this school at all. Then we may decide I want to go to another school. So basically, just live with the situation, fix the situation, or go to another situation. That is tolerate, mitigate, and emigrate. Okay.
Prabhuji, I have another question. Prabhuji, what if you make the problem, it's like you make the painting but then somebody just comes and does the finishing touches. So you plot the problem for yourself but somebody just comes and implements the problem for you. So is there like another thing, because is it the other person's problem or you?
Implements the problem. What do you mean by that?
Like
Plotting the problem. Are you talking solution or the problem?
Like you said that if you're only driving in the wrong lane, then I think it's kind of a dumb question, but then what do you do?
He plotted a problem and made it your problem now.
Sorry?
He plotted a problem and made it your problem.
Okay. So, it's like sometimes we might do something small wrong, but then somebody else makes it much bigger. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, so this happens that sometimes we might speak one thing which is a bit unpleasant, a little wrong, maybe a little offensive, but there is this Chinese whisper or whatever. In America they don't like the word Chinese whisper because they say it's racist against China. So it is just this game of whispers, you can say, where the idea that so we speak something, but then somebody else is bigger and bigger and bigger, and hey, this person said like this, this person said like this, this person said like this, and that whole becomes like we did something terrible. A small wrong thing we spoke. Sometimes that happens. The small thing becomes very big. Somebody else may intentionally do it like that also. So what do we do at that time? Now we take responsibility for our part. Okay, this is what I did, and I'm sorry about it. But then all this that has come after that, that is exaggeration. That is made too big. It is distortion. It is false. So generally, we can make mistakes in two ways. One is that not acknowledge our part at all, and just blame everything on the other person. And the other is take responsibility for what the other person has also done. Take blame for that also. No, this is the part I played, and I'll try to fix it.
Take all the blame or take none?
Yeah, we avoid both of those. That's like pendulum, two extremes. Okay, good question.
I have one last question. When you were telling with the connection between Ram and Lakshman, that when Ram was not, Ram was pacified and all. So in the second, when Sita was abducted, didn't Lakshman feel agitated and angry? Because even Lakshman had a strong relationship. So didn't even he feel like, why did this happen?
Yes, actually he was also disturbed, or Lakshman not disturbed, he was also disturbed. But it is Ram who felt a greater sense of responsibility. It was Ram's wife. And Lakshman had come there to serve both of them. So he wanted to serve both, but at that time Sita was not there. So he could serve Ram at that time. The way he saw, but I will do the services to pacify Ram at this time.
No, because if Lakshman would have thought that I was the person who put the rekha, I should have stayed to protect Sita because I was given a responsibility, blah, 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 blah. So.
Yeah, didn't he feel the same responsibility?
Yeah. I see. He would have definitely felt also, because he walked away from there because of what Sita spoke and everything. But the point is that there are different degrees of emotional investment in something. Like say, if somebody is a surgeon and their child has to be done surgery, now generally that person may not have that much level of objectivity. But if it's your nephew, your niece, then still you are close, it's family, but it's not exactly the same. So for Ram, it was the Sita, that was a very close relationship. It was a close. For Lakshman also it was an important relationship, but Lakshman had that little bit more distance from that trauma than what Ram had. Okay?
So Lakshman was also disturbed, but not at the level of Ram.
Yes, exactly. Thoughtful question. Yes.
Prabhuji, this Pranil, we are in his house, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Anil Prabhu and Shalu Matu is.
Here.
Where is my?
Here.
Somewhere there.
Next year.
Yeah, their daughter Lakshi and Pranil. All four of them, they attend every Saturday morning class in my own Krishi. And Prabhu, believe it or not, sometimes I can't believe it, that he sits first person in the class, just like the way he sits, 2.5 hours, 3 hours he sits. And he asks this kind of questions, he'll be a best preacher in this locality in 2036.
Wonderful.
Very intellectual at his age, just 10 years old.
Quite articulate also. You're able to speak yourself, speak thoughts also very nicely.
So, Prabhu,
Yeah, you should start a kids podcast.
now you're asking for trouble. So, Prabhu, first I would like to say two takeaways that I got, and then I'll ask a question, if it's okay. So, one takeaway understood is the troubles in the journey we have to tolerate as long as the destination is not being changed. Is the way to look at it. Is that the right understanding?
As long as the destination is not being taken away from us, that's true. I will also say that it's that as long as our own physical well-being, so that we can pursue the destination, that is also not being shaken. Physical well-being is also important. Now, emotional well-being becomes a little more subjective.
Yeah.
But say if somebody is in a job and their boss is troubling them a lot, the colleagues are troubling them a lot, and now should that person think it's my own past karma, so I tolerate it? Well, maybe, but if the trouble over there is making that person suicidal, then that's become a big thing. See, sometimes this philosophy of past karma can get overemphasized. See, the purpose of life is not achieved by exhausting our past karma. The purpose of life is achieved by executing our present dharma. So,
This in itself is another class, bro.
so I'll give you an example of the purpose of life is not achieved by exhausting our past karma. It is achieved by executing our present dharma. Say for example, if somebody is chanting and they have some severe pain in the body, and they say if I take some pain medication, it's my own past karma. So if I'm trying to run away from the past karma, so they have that pain and they decide I'll endure the pain. But while they are chanting, their consciousness is completely on the pain and tolerating the pain, and they're not able to focus on Krishna. So tolerating the pain alone is not going to make them Krishna conscious. They have to actually remember Krishna and develop love for Krishna. So it is by chanting, it is by doing service, it is by remembering. So now executing our dharma can be a dharma in our family situation, professional situation. Ultimately it is a dharma to Krishna. So exhausting our past karma is important, but that's not the primary purpose of life. The primary purpose of life is pursued through executing our dharma. Now this is very vividly illustrated in the incident of Vasudev, Devaki and Kamsa. So Vasudev tells Kamsa, when Vasudev is trying to stop Kamsa from killing Devaki, Vasudev says to Kamsa that ultimately death is destined. So if it is destined that you are going to die, then what will you achieve by doing a sinful activity, like killing your own sister? And destiny is inevitable. Now, Vasudeva could have turned that logic around and said that if destiny is inevitable and if Devaki is destined to die, then what am I doing trying to stop Kamsa? Isn't it? Why does he not turn that logic around like that? Because the point is that for him, protecting his wife is his dharma. And his destiny should never become an excuse for not doing one's dharma. But for him, for Kamsa, killing his sister is adharma. And if somebody starts thinking by doing the adharma, I'll prevent from something from happening, then it's better to remember destiny. That's why the point is not just to exhaust our past karma, it's to execute our present dharma. Yeah, go ahead.
So actually, in this point, Prabhu triggered another question in between, so I'll just ask them. So I heard this, that Srila Prabhupada's sister, she went through a lot of agony in her life because of her husband. She was very badly treated and could not perform any of her life properly. At the same time, I don't know if it's Srila Prabhupada telling or somebody else telling that she still achieved her, I don't know, goal of life or whatever, but she has achieved her bhakti by tolerating and still being in the relationship. Please, you don't have to answer it, quote on, because I don't remember where I heard it exactly. But when you, Prabhupada section is it? Yeah. So, when somebody is really being badly treated in a relationship, and that bad treatment is affecting her or his Krishna conscious journey, then is it worthwhile to be in that relationship? I'm talking about extreme thing, not like not allowing somebody to chant or not allowing anybody any practice, not allowing somebody to go to satsang, things like that. So how do you understand the tolerance principle there?
Yeah, so it's a, if in a relationship there is a person getting so suppressed that they are not able to do even the basic devotional activities also, and not beyond that they are being mistreated. So should they be in that relationship? I'd say three things over here. First is that sometimes there are phases in life where sometimes another person is going through a very difficult phase, or sometimes things happen that, see, that situation feels unbearable at that time. But the thing is that in life, I try to use this acronym like SEA. There are situations in our life, then there are emotions that are triggered by those situations. Situations are external, emotions are internal, and then those lead to actions. So now the thing is, situations are often reversible. Emotions are also reversible. Situation means that I'm in a very difficult situation today and I feel terrible, I feel it's unbearable. But tomorrow I may feel it's not such a bad situation. But the thing is, once actions are taken, actions may well be irreversible. Especially in terms of if somebody decides to end a relationship, or somebody decides to end their life, or like make a rapid rupture in something. So in general, so tolerance, one aspect of it is patience. That will this, like Krishna talks about tolerance in terms of agam apaino anityas. This is temporary. So situation can be temporary. Situation will come, it will go. The emotions come, they go. But because of reversible situations, reversible emotions, let me not take any irreversible actions. So that is the broad principle. First, I would say. Now the second is that now when the situations are reversible, but they reverse, but they keep repeating. That means it's one time something bad happens and things come back to normal. But the other is that bad keeps happening again and again and again, intermittently. So then it becomes a slightly more difficult situation, because then it's not just that the bad is temporary, but that bad phase, when is it going to come? You don't know that. And that creates fear and insecurity throughout. Like somebody is alcohol issues. Normally they drink, but they don't drink too much. But sometimes they drink so much and they just become violent. Even if it happened once, it can happen again. It's happened repeatedly, but not every day. But it happens once in a few months. Still, it's caused a lot of stress and anxiety. So now, when does a particular situation become unbearable? There is a certain level of subjectivity in that. Like somebody outside may say, you know, tolerate is not such a big thing, but that person may feel it's a big thing. So there is a subjectivity in that which cannot be denied. So ultimately, whether this is a bearable situation or it is an unbearable situation, that person only has to decide. They should also, of course, take inputs from others, but others cannot force them. And this is bear it. So when something like this is coming, I think that if it's repeatedly happening and the person is feeling unbearably suffocated, then where the person is just not able to function normally, and that person themselves is getting feeling tormented, traumatized, they are feeling super depressed or super irritable, then if it's going towards a point where the person is, there is self-destruction, which is in one moment when people end their life, but the self-destruction when there's constant negativity in life, negativity in emotions, person feels crushed. Now some people can tolerate without becoming filled with negativity and resentment, and some people cannot. Now why does that happen? I won't make it a moral virtue that this person moral is stronger than the other person. It's just that different people get strength from different things. So somebody, for him, their sense that, that I have a family, I want to be a part of the family, and I want this to be important, that becomes so big a thing, everything that I need to tolerate for that, it becomes small. So now, where that comes from, it's difficult to say. You could say it comes from culture, it comes from upbringing, it comes from past life, wherever. So when is something becoming unbearable for a person? There's subjectivity in that. And we have to let the person ultimately decide after consulting with others. And the third thing is that this is not something to be, it should be more of a, eventually when it comes up, it should be more of a practical decision than a philosophical decision. In the sense that it's a practical problem. See, one of the most frustrating situations for devotees comes when you come with a practical problem and you are given a philosophical solution. It's like, after a program there is no prasad. And then you go to the kitchen charge, where's the prasad? He said, actually our philosophy chant and be happy. Now we will say, yeah, but for hearing the philosophy, I had the preacher of the Vyasasana. I don't need the kitchen charge to tell me that, isn't it? So if somebody is responsible for somebody is taking a practical responsibility. Now philosophy can guide the decision that they make, the strategy they follow. But giving a philosophical perspective is not a replacement for a practical solution. So when that is done, it becomes it's almost like a misuse of the philosophy. Or if not misuse, more of a self-serving use of the philosophy. So, that's why I said that this life is not just for exhausting past life's karma. This life also is for doing our dharma and growing in life, in our consciousness, in our talents, in our capacity to serve. So that's why it can be more of a practical decision, guided by philosophy, but it should not be a philosophy-centered decision. It should be a practical decision guided by philosophy. Addressing the question?
Yeah. So, Prabhu, I just like to conclude on, sorry, Prabhu, taking more time. So, Prabhu, so another takeaway for me, final takeaway, is to understand what is big in my life and what is small in my life. I think that itself is a big homework for me. That sometimes I keep putting the small thing as a bigger thing, and then I completely ruin a relationship or a conversation or a situation. We create the situation by keeping small things as big. So it's very important to understand what is big and small. And I'd like to thank you, Prabhuji, that you come at least 2 times in a year to make us realize what is really big in our life. It's so important because you're pointing it, and all this Shravanam, every time we hear a class, that again and again keeps pointing what is really big in our life, which is what I feel spirituality, makes so much meaning. Because talking about meditation, yoga, or some kind of gymnastic, not talking what is really big in life doesn't give any, any solution to the main problem.
Yeah.
And the solution also is within us. That's what I understood today. Is Lord Ram understood what is big for Lakshman, and Lakshman understood what is big for Ram, and then they could easily reconcile.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
the relationship problem is a very essential thing that you touched upon. I think in itself is a big. I think if you can also explain how do we determine what is big. Of course, this philosophy is already telling what is big. Janma Mrityu Jaravadi. Because that's like ultimate. You see that and then you say what is meaning of anything else. But you coming here and reminding us what is big again and again. So many ways. The way you put Prabhuji sometimes, all the charts and the explanation that really shows how much big you think of all other devotees, how much concern you show for everyone. Your concern is seen in that explanation of how detailed you go to make sure that we understand it, and that really shows your love for us. And I want to say that we all love you.
Thank you for your kind words. I don't know whether I have concern for others. I have a concern for clarity. So, it's like if I myself don't understand a concept, I lose sleep at night. So for me, like, three things are like driving principles for my life: curiosity, creativity, and clarity. So those three things drive me in my life. So I want to understand. I'm curious about things. Then I want to understand, and after I understand, I want to creatively convey them. So now, in some ways, if an audience benefits, you are like incidental beneficiaries.
Last time when it came to accidental beneficiary.
Another word you told, self-congratulation. You always leave something here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Mataji, sorry. What is the time? Okay. Yeah. Any Mataji there? If you can talk loudly, I think it's important.
Sometimes they say that if you don't tolerate your current situation or whatever wrongdoing is happening with you, then if you take birth again, you have to experience it again to, exhaust it. So in that case also you end up tolerating, oh, I don't want to go again, let me tolerate in this life and finish it. So, but then again you said, if you can mitigate also, you should mitigate the problem.
Okay.
Because wrongdoing is also coming in our life because of past karma only. You said past karma tolerate and wrongdoing mitigate. In the flow chart you were
No, I'm not saying. Okay, I'll answer this question. So sometimes we say that if something bad is happening in our life, it's because of our past karma, and if we don't endure it now, then we'll have to endure it in the future life. Well, I think there is truth to it. It's not the complete truth because of 2-3 different things. First is that even if we have to bear some karma, it's like when the karma comes also matters. It's like if I have 3 installments of past negative karma to come to me in my life. Maybe I'm going to get some terrible disease. Maybe somebody close to me is going to betray me. And maybe my reputation is going to be spoiled. And somebody is going to character assassinate me, whatever. These are 3 big problems that are going to come in my life. Now, if these 3 problems come at an intervention of, say, 10 years each, then I can bear each of those problems. But if all those 3 come at the same time, then it may become unbearable. So that's why if we are finding a particular situation unbearable, okay, I'm enduring this, but if this also comes, I can't endure it. I'll collapse. So that's why we have to be able to be functional in life also. That's what I'm talking, that if tolerating makes us dysfunctional, or I just grit my teeth and function right now, inside me so much resentment is growing that afterwards it's going to explode. Then we're just keeping it in for a very long time. That's not a healthy way to go. That's the first point, that even if some karma is supposed to come, when it comes can also make a big difference in how well we are able to bear it. And second point is that, you know, which situation has come to us because of what exactly is difficult to understand. So if I can find an immediate cause for something and address the immediate cause, see, karma is not mystical, it is logical. What do I mean by mystical and logical? That the logical principle is that every action has a result, and every result that has come in my life has some action behind it. So this is how we function in life normally. So if I am feeling hot right now, maybe it is because the fan is off above me. Maybe it's because I am wearing warm clothes. Maybe it's because the temperature is too hot over here. There could be different levels of causality. So, so now I have a devotee friend who says that, you know, he says, I'll never take pain medication in my life. Says, because what happens that he says that that pain is coming by my past karma, I should tolerate it. Now but then that same devotee, he has a super thermal sensitive body. He just cannot function without an AC. So now I told him, Prabhu, then is your inability to tolerate AC also not because of past karma? Isn't it? So why put this in one category and that in another category? He said that's I'm daily functioning, I will not be able to function at all. Pain comes intermittently and I tolerate it. So that's a reasonable reasoning. But can you absolutize that? That means, you know, no devotee should take any pain medication. No, we cannot absolutize that. So sometimes there is an immediate cause. So when I say karma is logical, if I can find an immediate cause to a particular problem and I fix it, there is no need to bring in past karma over there. So if, say, right now, if I'm speaking, the sound system stops working, should I think I must have done something in my past life because of that, now the sound system is not working? No, maybe the battery is just discharged. So it is not that. So karma is, the philosophy of karma builds up from our experience and extends beyond our experience. But it is not meant to replace our experience. What do I mean? That we see cause effect working. I would say 70, 80, 90% of the time, cause effect does work. I was in America and one student asked me, he says, I'm an atheist. And why do bad things happen to good people? So I asked him, why shouldn't bad things happen to good people? He said, what do you mean? Good things should happen to good people, bad things to bad people. I said, if there is no God, there is no organizing principle, then who said good things should happen to good people and who said bad things should happen to bad people? Isn't it? See, the reason why we ask this question, why do bad things happen to good people, is that we normally see that if I do good, good is done to me. If I am polite with people, people are polite with me. Now, we may say, depending on what kind of culture we live in, that our experience of that may be 20%, maybe 80%. There are exceptions to it. But in our normal experience, we see cause and effect. But sometimes that cause and effect doesn't work. So when that cause and effect doesn't work, that's when we see a bigger framework. Say, if I am polite with you and you are cold with me, you say, why are you being so cold with me? But it could have been that in the previous visit when I had come, I was cold to you. And that's why now is this an act I am putting on? Is this really the person has changed? So normally if I am polite, you are polite, it's a normal reciprocation. But if I am polite, you are cold, then there's a bigger picture over there. So karma is like expanding our picture of life. It is not denying our current picture of life. So I hope I am making clear what I'm saying. So if I can find a fix for a problem right now, then I should find a fix for the problem. And failing to find the fix can also be a dharma. So, you know, how far are you going to extend it? All the problems that come in our life are because of our past karma. So if we have a newborn baby and the baby is crying, should we say, oh, this baby is crying, baby is in pain, probably the baby did something in the past life because of that she's crying now. So if I pacify the baby, I'll be interfering with the past life's karma of the baby. That would be ridiculous. That will make us monstrously insensitive, isn't it? Now sometimes it can happen that despite our best efforts to pacify our child, to comfort our child, to treat our child, still the pain might remain and doctors are also not able to diagnose. That time when our normal cause effect just doesn't make sense. To gain a sense of acceptance, then we go towards past karma. That's why past karma is logical, it's not mystical. It starts from our experience and it just broadens the frame of reference for us to understand. Okay? Thank you. Should we stop here?
She has from left.
Okay, then. Okay. Yes, quickly.
After coming back from exile, when there were so many rumors that were being spread about Mata Sita's purity, why did Lord Ram choose to tolerate those rumors and ask Sita to emigrate instead of mitigating the situation?
Okay. It's a very important question.
Can you repeat the question, Prabhu?
I don't want to repeat the question because I don't know whether I want to answer the question. But okay, I think we'll have to answer it. It will take at least 10 minutes. Is it okay? Okay. So the question is that, why did Lord Ram tolerate the false allegations against Sita? And why did he not counter them? Why did he have her sent away? Yeah, it's a very difficult question, and I can't say that I have a conclusive answer to that. I talked with many devotees. I've read whatever commentaries I found on the Ramayana. Now there is a group of scholars, Ramayana scholars. They say that this whole story is interpolated, and interpolated means it's not in the original Ramayana. It's something which is added and it never happened. Now, if that interpolation can be proven, I would be a very happy person. So most of us, because it's a very difficult thing to explain. But the evidence for that interpolation, I haven't found it very persuasive. Interpolation means basically somebody adds something in a book. But if you look at the story itself, like I said that any event that happens, we try to understand it in terms of different causal frameworks. So at a basic level, the Ramayana begins with a question, who is an ideal person? That's what Valmiki asked Narad Muni. And now a man who abandons his wife, a pregnant wife, on the basis of an unsubstantiated accusation, not an unsubstantiated accusation, a false accusation, which he knows is false. That person would not be considered even a normally decent person. What to speak of an ideal human being? So that a book which starts with this question has such a provocative or outrageous incident towards the ending part. Now it just either the author was crazy, who the author forgot what he started the book with, and he put this incident over there, or there is something else going on over there. So the first thing is, at an immediate level, it's utterly unfair what was done to Sita. Now, is that the only level of perception? So now we can look at it in terms of, Lord Ram had two duties. One was his duty as a husband, and the other was his duty as a king. So now every culture has a particular way of functioning. And when that culture of functioning is there, so within that particular culture that was there, the idea that the king, this is not just in India, it was in the West also, that, what is that, in Roman Empire, Caesar's wife should be above suspicion. The saying like that. So the king has to demonstrate non-attachment, and the queen has to demonstrate spotless character. So now what happens is that if that is not there, the king will be perceived as attached. And when the king is perceived as attached, then that can have a trickle-down effect. So in one sense, the way this is seen is, it's seen from the lens of gender. That Ram is a man and Sita is a woman, and Sita was punished for no crime of hers. But if that were the case, then Ram could very easily have got married. If Ram's concern was, say that, oh, she's like, because she's because she is being accused, so I am being accused, and I don't want this problem, so I get rid of her. Then he could very easily have remarried. And not only could he have remarried, that the Brahmins, when he was performing very yajnas, they told him that you need a wife with you. And then what did he do? He made an effigy of Sita, golden effigy. And now, if somebody is considered impure, in some cultures there is like honor killing is there. And now, if somebody has done something wrong, you just send your own family goes and kills that person. And once the honor killing is done, all remains of that person are removed from the family. There is no photos of that person in the home. There will be no in the albums. The photos will be removed. It's like that person never existed only. This person is such a stigma on our family that we will remove all signs of the existence of that person. But what Lord Ram does is the opposite. So if somebody is considered so impure, then how could you have the effigy of that person for performing a yajna? And how did the Brahmins accept that also? So the point over here is, Lord Ram never considered Sita to be impure. But at that particular point, there was a conflict between his duty as a husband and his duty as a king. And he chose the duty of a king. Now, in today's world, we may say, why could he not have clarified? And there's so many things which can be done. But in different situations, when a particular allegation comes, when is clarifying it going to reduce it? And when is trying to clarify it going to aggravate it? So in that particular culture, that particular decision was made. Now, that's the first point. So that it is a dharma sammoha, like at the start of the Gita it happens, which is the higher dharma. Dharma conflict, the conflict between two dharmas. Now, another level to understand it is that the theme is the theme of sacrifice. The whole Ramayana is about sacrifice. That Lord Ram sacrifices his claim to the kingdom to protect the family. Lakshman sacrifices the comfort of the kingdom to serve Ram. Sita sacrifices the comfort of the kingdom to be with Ram. Bharat sacrifices the kingdom, the comfort of the kingdom, so that he can also be in a situation similar to Ram while doing the duties of the kingdom. So the whole theme of the Ramayana is sacrifice for a higher cause. And similarly, so what happens is Dashrath and Ram. When Dashrath sends Ram away, Ram is not a victim and Dashrath is not a victimizer. Circumstances come in such a way that both Dashrath and Ram have to do something which is painful for both of them. So exactly similarly, Ram and Sita, the situation comes. And from today's ethos, it is relatively easier to understand Dashrath sending Ram away. Although many people can say, what does it matter? If your wife makes such an unreasonable demand, don't follow that. You could say that Dashrath didn't have to listen to her. But there was a particular cultural ethos at that particular time. So it is not that Ram is the victimizer and Sita is the victim. It is that both of them are demonstrating the principle of sacrifice. And how do we know that? See, although Sita is heartbroken by that, Sita does not blame Ram for it. And how do we know Sita does not blame Ram for it? She does not badmouth Ram to love and push. So, although it's a painful incident, just like Ram does not badmouth Dashrath, Sita does not badmouth Ram. So, it is the principle of sacrifice being demonstrated in a way which is very difficult. Now, if you see, now in scripture, there are certain examples which are for, like this is a very fundamental principle, there is something which is a model and something which is an inspiration. And the two are not the same things. Model is something we follow. Inspiration is something which we take inspiration from, but we don't necessarily follow the inspiration. Model is something which is replicable. Inspiration is something which is so extraordinary that we admire it. So, if we look at the Ramayan's commentarial tradition, that Lord Ram obeying Dashrath, Sita following Ram, these are considered to be models. Ram sending Sita away is not considered to be a model. And if you look at Indian society, overall, India has, among the world's culture, India has at least till recently, it had a relatively robust family structure. And the Ramayana is by far the book that inspired India more than the Bhagavatam, more than the Bhagavad Gita, more than the Mahabharata. So if a book had as a model, reject your wife based on a false accusation, how would such a book inspire a vibrant family culture, a robust family culture? So this is an inspiration. This is not a model. The inspiration of sacrifice. In fact, some Sri Vaishnava Acharyas say that even Lakshman's following Ram is an inspiration. It is not a model. Why? Because Lakshman left Urmila behind. And that's unfair for her. So, but that is an inspiration because this is Ram involved. He's God. So that is not a model. So this is an extraordinary example of sacrifice. Now beyond that, the third level of understanding is that in the Ramayana itself it is said that there is a past life story. That there is a sage there is a demon who is basically, now I don't remember, anyone remember the details? I read in my Ramayana book.
He took a bone that until Lakshmi and Narayana together he cannot be killed. Something.
No, so I don't remember the names, but in my Ramayana book itself, last chapter is about what I'm speaking. In my Ramayana book, this is the last chapter. So basically what happens is this demon, he has a boon that he can be killed only at a particular time, and Lord Vishnu is about to kill him. At that time, he goes and takes shelter of a sage's wife. And Vishnu has to stop. Vishnu tells him, I have to kill him this time only, otherwise he'll destroy the whole Devatas, he'll destroy the whole universe. And I think this is Bhrigu Muni's wife, if I'm not mistaken. Kriti, her name is, I think. So she says, no, he has come in my shelter, I will not let him go. So then Lord Vishnu says, I have to kill him right now. Please move aside. He says, no. So then Lord Vishnu has to kill her. And then he kills the demon. And then when Bhrigu Muni comes, not Bhrigu, some other sage he comes, he says, how dare you kill my wife like this? I curse you that the way I am experiencing separation from my wife, you will have to experience separation from your wife. So then that separation happens in the Ramayana at this particular point. Now that's the third level. Now the fourth level understanding is it's a bit more esoteric, but this is where it's an understanding of, so this is past life curse, you can say. Now the Lord cannot be cursed by anyone, but the Lord sometimes voluntarily accepts curses. And it's the explanation of rasa. Rasa means what? See, normally love is reciprocal. That I do something for you, you do something for me. And if I am doing a lot for you and you are doing nothing for me, then the question comes up, why should I be in this relationship? So the idea is that both in Krishna Leela and in Ram Leela, the highest level of love is shown where the devotee does everything for the Lord and the Lord apparently abandons the devotee. So the gopis, what happens? They give everything to Krishna and Krishna promises, I'll come back, but Krishna doesn't come back. But the gopis, they don't give up Krishna. They still keep loving Krishna. So that is the summit of love, that you get nothing from the person to whom you give everything and still you keep loving that person. Now, with respect to Krishna, Krishna is still present in the heart and Krishna enriches the hearts of the gopis. So that same thing is in Ram Leela, that apparently Lord Ram rejects Sita, but still Sita keeps loving Ram. So the idea is that, my dear Lord, even if you reject me, what is the last line of Shikshashtakam? Ashlishyava padaratam pinashtumam adarshanam marmahatam karotuva. Whether you embrace me or whether you trample me or whether you abandon me. Mat prana nathastu sevana paraha. That you are my Lord. So Sita is demonstrating that see, rejection is very difficult to experience in any relationship from anyone. But even if there is rejection from the Lord, there will be no rejection of the Lord. So that is the highest summit of love that is demonstrated to this pastime. Okay.
One small follow-up question. at the first level of understanding where you talked about dharma, even as a king, isn't he preaching to his citizens that if you don't trust your wife, you should get rid of her?
So is he okay? Is the Lord Ram teaching that if your wife is accused, therefore you should abandon her? So that's what I said. Now that there are some examples which are for following. अच्छा, मेरी बैटरी है उनकी? Okay.
There is a box.
You can just give me this one. So okay. So is that an example which would set an example for? Okay, is this audible?
Yes.
So when Lord Ram sent Sita away, so also I don't find the word exile very precise, because when Lord Ram was exiled, he went out of the kingdom into the forest to fend for himself. When Sita was sent away, she was sent to Valmiki's ashram, and Valmiki's ashram was still in Ram's kingdom, and in that sense she was in Ram's protection, but just not in his home, in his palace. So you can call it exile, but it's not the same as the way that Ram was exiled. Now, having said that, is it something which is seen as a ideal to be followed by everyone? Well, no. Two reasons for that. First is that we don't see the Ramayana is quoted many times. Mahabharata happens after that. There are many other literature which quote the Ramayana, but there are no incidents of that particular. There are no incidents in any other literature. This is the model used to do similar actions. And in scripture itself, there's an understanding that certain actions are extraordinary. Say like, there's good actions or bad actions. Say when Parikshit Maharaj hears in the Bhagavatam that Ajamil chants one name of Narayana and he's saved. So Parikshit Maharaj, after hearing this, then said to Shukdev Goswami, you shut up now. There's no need for me to hear the Bhagavatam for 7 days. When the snake bird comes, that time I'll chant one Narayana. And that will be enough. So in scripture, sometimes both extreme negatives are shown and extreme positives are shown. So those are seen for inspiration. They are never seen as standards. So it has not happened, and it is seen as an extraordinary example of sacrifice, not something that everybody has to follow. Okay. Thank you very much. Shri Ramchandra Bhagwan ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi.
Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki jai.
So as I mentioned, I have a few books. I think I have mainly the Ramayana book. So much of what I spoke today is there in this book. This is translated. There's an English book also available, but we don't have it right now. But the Telugu translation of the book is there, available behind. And I also have a few copies of. So this is Srila Prabhupada wrote his prayers to Markine Bhagavad Dharma, where basically we have beautiful picture of a deity of Krishna along with an image of Prabhupada offering in a prayerful mood. So when we face very great difficulties in our life, or we have a very difficult service, responsibility, dharma, how can we pray to gain strength? That's explained in this book. And then wisdom from Ramayana. This is about 20 essays from the Ramayana, where life lessons are drawn from those lessons, from those incidents, and practical applications are given. So both these books are available, and I'll be here for some time to answer any further questions or to sign the books if you want. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Mataji, so Prabhuji is here. It's our greatest fortune that Prabhuji has come to Mayam Vihanga, and Prabhuji has given a class here. The best way to keep the memory is have a book of Prabhuji. There are some books left. Why don't you just take the book and get it signed with Prabhuji, and you can read the book. Next time when you come, you can ask questions from that book itself. So, and many of the questions are already answered, right? So, that's, to me, very insightful questions, actually. Thank you. Because of you, we learned many things. Thank you. So, let us thank the hosts also, Anil Prabhu and Shalu Mataji, family with 3 loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Sunil Prabhu's family with 3 loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Thank you very much. Please honor Prashadam as you do. Hare Krishna. Yeah. There is opposite on that. There is a opposite flat which all Tonis can have dinner with us. And this flat Mati is
We should not have any traces of any materialistic desire. Only then we are allowed to go to these spiritual
I said
somebody get the money.
Yes.
I would never say that an isolation. Let's say Krishna is both demanding and accommodating.
Yeah, he's both. I mean, in one sense, he's